Welcome, everyone. We had a little surprise on Friday. Rachel's children have pink eyes, so she couldn't come. And since I always say yes when Becky asks for a hand, I'm going to be presiding over this gathering today. And I love this word Becky thought for when this happens. It's an unpasteurized service. I need my script. Some things will be a little different and some things will be very familiar, and I might ask for help if I'm not quite sure about the next step. But let's start with announcements. Are there any announcements? Yes.
The Sharon Food Shelf asked the Mission Committee for soup. So Chrissy right away ordered us 5 cases of soup. It's there. But the food shelves are really being used, especially now with cold weather coming. So we also took over 28 pounds of food from the back, and we appreciate non-perishable food such as cereal, soup. Hearty soup is what people really need. Cameron had someone tell her last week, and I have too, that 1 can of that Progresso soup is a dinner for 2 for an older couple. So it's really appreciated. Also hygiene supplies, baby diapers, things like that, toothpaste, anything like that, pasta. Can you think of other things that go fly on off the shelf? Cake mixes, things like that. Snacks. People love snacks like granola bars. So anything, we can fill that basket again and take it right over the hill. People are very grateful, and so are we. Thank you.
No other announcements. So settle yourself. It's a really, really busy time for lots of people. Just come into the quietness of this morning. Stillness. Let us pray for peace and the things that make for peace as we light the peace candle.
In him was life, and the light was the light of the world.
The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness does not overcome it. It's a very short wick, but you can believe me that it's lit. Sometimes peace is very quiet. As a call to worship, I'm going to read a short poem from Lao Tzu. Empty your mind of all thoughts. Let your heart be at peace. Watch the turmoil of beings, but contemplate their return. Each separate being in the universe returns to the common source. Returning to the source is serenity. If you don't realize the source, you stumble in confusion and sorrow. When you realize where you come from, you naturally become tolerant, disinterested, amused, kind-hearted as a grandmother, dignified as a king. Immersed in the wonder of the way, you can deal with whatever life brings you. And when death comes, you are ready.
The responsive reading is Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
He makes me lie down in green pastures.
He leads me beside still waters.
He restores my soul and leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake.
Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death,
I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me.
you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies.
You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows.
Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life.
And I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. On Jordan's stormy banks I stand and cast a wishful eye to Canaan's fair and valley land where my possessions lie. I am bound for the promised land. I'm bound for the promised land. Oh, who will come and go with me? I'm bound for the promised land. O'er all those wide extended plains from eternal day, there the sun forever reigns and scatters night away. I'm bound for the promised land. I'm bound for the promised land. Oh, who will come and go with me? I'm bound for the promised land. No chilling winds or poisonous breath can reach that healthful shore. Sickness and sorrow, pain and death, nor guilt and fear no more. I am bound for the promised land. I'm bound for the promised land. Oh, who will come and go with me? I am bound for the promised land. When I shall reach that happy place and be forever blessed, for I shall see my Father's face and in His bosom rest. I am bound for the promised land. I'm bound for the promised land. Oh, who will come and go with me? I am bound for the promised land.
I meant to mention that I'm choosing not to wear a mask. I'm hoping that's okay with everyone. I'm triple boosted, but I want to make sure I'm audible. So for our children's time, let yourself slide back into that sensibility. I'm going to read an Emily Dickinson poem and then talk really briefly about it. The brain is wider than the sky, for put them side by side, the one the other will contain, with ease, and you beside. The brain is deeper than the sea, for hold them, blue to blue, the one the other will absorb, as sponges, buckets do. The brain is just the weight of God, for heft them, pound for pound, and they will differ, if they do, as syllable from sound. So Emily Dickinson was this amazing person who lived a very quiet life and a mental life that was as big as the cosmos. And in her time, there were only a few readers who ever saw her poems. She had one correspondent who was the editor of the Atlantic Monthly, and she sent him poems. And some of her her sister-in-law and her sister sometimes saw the poems. But she wasn't writing for celebrity or a career or any other reason. And she had a mind that used the cadences of hymns. She had a religious background, although over time, she became a pretty dedicated doubter, but she never abandoned the sense that the world of the spirit and the world of the universe was important. I'll just leave it at that for the moment. And the other thing that she was able to do is she had a kind of riddling mind. So she loved playing with words. She had an enormous vocabulary. And this one plays with this notion of the brain. And the reason I thought of it as a possible occasion for children's time is I think a lot of children would find this funny. And it's meant to be funny, that the brain is wider than the sky. And this brain can contain the sky. So we know that to be true, but we don't think about it very often. And I find when I'm spending time with small children, they do think about those kind of equations and those possibilities. The brain is deeper than the sea. So we know that's possible. It's rhetorically possible to contain the sea in your mind. And impossible, of course, both are true. But the brain is just the weight of God. That's where it moves from the realm of being sort of playful, metaphorically, sky and sea, which you can see, to something you can't see. And then she imagines actually hefting. And it's the word heft, that she, sometimes in her poems you can see she tried out lots of other words in the margins. And scholars now are printing her poems with those tryouts there, so you could see how she made her choices. Heft them. That's such a tactile word. You're hefting the weight of God and your brain, which is, again, sort of comical. I think of this expression, watch your eyes. Like if you're going through the woods and there might be a stick that would poke. It's really funny that watch your eyes. You can't watch your eyes. You can't heft your brain. But in a way you can. You can mentally. And then this amazing ending, and they will differ, if they do, as syllable from sound. Which seems to me not at all. What is the syllable without the sound? Well, a syllable could be on a page with no sound. But all these possibilities she's keeping in mind. So I think of her as an example of a very old soul who's also very childlike. And now she has more readers than she's ever had because there are more people receptive to this idea that she was a kind of Shakespearean character, but working on a very small scale. So I'm just going to read it again. The brain is wider than the sky, for put them side by side, the one the other will contain, with ease, and you beside. The brain is deeper than the sea, for hold them blue to blue, the one the other will absorb, as sponges, buckets do. The brain is just the weight of God, for heft them, pound for pound, and they will differ, if they do, as syllable from sound. So let's read the new version of the Lord's Prayer, which you'll find on your lilac-colored card. Let's read this together. Creator, Redeemer, Sustainer, Way, Truth, and Life, force of love and light, flowing within and all around us, may your realm of compassion, justice, and peace rule our world. Thank you for nurturing and guiding us, forgiving us and helping us forgive, and leading us away from harmful desires. Please save us from all forms of evil, for you are our source, our home, our power, all goodness and beauty forever.
Okay, 15, Luke, verses 2 to 7. And the Pharisees and the tribes were grumbling and saying, "This fellow welcomes sinners and eats with them." So he told them this parable. Which one of you, having 100 sheep, and losing one of them, does not leave the 99 in the wilderness and goes after the one that is lost until he finds it? And when he has found it, he lays it on his shoulders and he rejoices. And when he comes home, he calls together his friends and neighbors, saying to them, "Rejoice with me, for I have found the sheep that was lost." Just so I tell you, there will be more joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who need no repentance. And the next reading is John chapter 4, verses 4 to 20, I believe. Yes, 4 through 20. But he had to go through Samaria. So he came to a Samaritan city called Sychar, where the plot of ground that Jacob had given to his son Joseph was. Jacob's well was there, and Jesus, tired out by his journey, was sitting by the well. It was about noon. A Samaritan woman came to draw water, and Jesus said to her, "Give me a drink." His disciples had gone to the city to buy food. The Samaritan woman said to him, "How is it that you, a Jew, ask a drink of me, a woman of Samaria?" Jews do not share things in common with Samaritans. Jesus answered her, "If you knew the gift of God and who it is that is saying to you, 'Give me a drink,' you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water." The woman said to him, "Sir, you have no bucket, and the well is deep. Where do you get that living water? Are you greater than our ancestor Jacob, who gave us the well, and with his son and his flocks drank from it?" Jesus said to her, "Everyone who drinks of this water will be thirsty again, but those who drink of the water that I will give them will never be thirsty. The water that I will give becomes in them a spring of water gushing up to eternal life." The woman said to him, "Sir, give me this water so that I may never be thirsty or have to keep coming here to draw water." Jesus said to her, "Go, call your husband and come back." The woman answered him, "I have no husband." Jesus said to her, "You are right in saying, 'I have no husband,' for you have had 5 husbands, and the one you have now is not your husband. What you have said is true." The woman said to him, "Sir, I see that you are a prophet. Our ancestors worshipped on this mountain, but you say that the place where people must worship is in Jerusalem." Here ends the reading.
Well, on Friday, when we learned that Rachel wouldn't be able to come, Becky said, "Will you read something?" And, oh, you need, oh, yes. Thank you. I've been thinking lately about a book written by a Vermonter, Garrett Kaiser. He's known as a high school teacher. He's written 2 books about teaching high school in the Northeast Kingdom. And he's also a kind of journalist philosopher, if such a thing is possible. And he has written a book about noise, just the clamor of noise around us all the time. He's written a book about privacy. And I've been reading this book called The Enigma of Anger, being very, very aware, as we all are, that we're living in a really angry time. If we're not angry ourselves, we're seeing people around us who seem to be angry all the time or suddenly angry. So I'm going to read a part of an essay here. This whole book is very worthwhile, and I think I'll leave it in the library when I've finished it. But this is about anger as fear, and you'll see he explains why this formulation comes to his mind. And then I'm going to omit some pieces of it just for clarity and brevity, but I think this will stand as it is. There's a little epigraph at the beginning of the chapter, "Love casts out fear," from John. Oh, and I should also mention, in addition to a high school teacher,